Hello everyone, welcome back to our discussion. We were doing the governor. We have already seen the qualifications, privileges and immunities of the governor, and then we did the executive powers of the governor. So today we will be seeing what the legislative powers of the governor are. You know that the governor is a nominal head of the state legislature. So in that respect, he enjoys vast powers. So to begin with, the governor can summon or prorogue the state legislature and dissolve the state legislative assembly. So dissolving the state legislative assembly is done when the council of ministers has lost the confidence of the house. So in such cases, the governor can dissolve the state assembly. Second thing is that the governor can address the state legislature at the commencement of the first session after every general election and also the first session every year. So after the general election, when the new house meets, the governor addresses the very first session, and also every year the very first session is addressed by the governor. The next legislative power is that the governor can send messages to the house with regard to a bill pending in the house or any other administrative matter also. So the governor can always send messages to the house regarding the status of any bill pending or any other matter. Next is that the governor can appoint any member of the state assembly to preside over its proceedings when the office of both the speaker and the deputy speaker falls vacant. You know that the affairs or the proceedings of the houses are conducted or presided over by the speaker, and in his absence the deputy speaker. But when the offices of both the speaker and the deputy speaker falls vacant, it's the governor who appoints any member of the state assembly to preside over the proceedings of the house or to conduct the affairs of the house. And moving on, the governor can nominate 1/6 the members of the state legislative council from among persons having special knowledge or practical experience in literature, science, arts, cooperative movements and social service. See, we have seen that similar provision exists for the Rajya Sabha. So, the same way, in the case of state legislative councils, we have a similar provision. So, this is not the state legislative assembly, it is the state legislative councils. See, some states have got two houses, one upper house and one lower house, like you have in the center. So, in the case of states with two houses, one legislative assembly and one legislative council, in such states, the governor can nominate 1/6 of the members of the legislative council from among persons with special knowledge in, literature, arts, cooperative movements, social service, etc. So, this is comparable to the power of the president to nominate members to the Rajya Sabha. Then the governor can also nominate one member of the state legislative assembly from among the Anglo-Indian community. So, and this is done when the governor feels that the Anglo-Indian community is not adequately represented in the assembly. So, in that case, he can nominate one member to the assembly from among the Anglo-Indian community. The next is that he decides on the question of disqualification of members of the state legislature in consultation with the election commission. So whenever a question arises about the disqualification of members of state assembly, this is done in consultation with the election commission, and rather this is decided by the governor in consultation with the election commission. Next is that when a bill is sent to the governor for his assent, you know that after a bill is passed by the state legislature, it is then given to the governor So this is the same procedure that we have in the case of the union also. After the bill is passed by both the houses, it is sent to the president for his assent. The same way in the states also, after the bill is passed in the houses or house, whichever the case is, the bill is sent to the governor for his assent. Now he or she, whichever, they have the option of number one, giving the assent to the bill. He or she can approve the bill. Two, withhold assent to the bill. They may simply not give assent to the bill. They may, wait a while. C, the third option, they may return the bill for the consideration of the state legislature. So this returning of the bill for reconsideration of the assembly is done only in the case of non-money bills. So the governor does not have this option in the case of money bills. So in the case of money bills, he or she has to give the assent, because money bills are introduced with their prior recommendation. But in the case of non-money bills, such bills may be returned to the house for their consideration. And the last option, the fourth option the governor has, is that they may reserve the bill for the consideration of the president. So if the governor feels that a particular bill has to be reserved for the consideration of the president, he may do so. So in such cases, so these are not very common cases, but yes, it does happen. Sometimes if the governor feels that the bill affects the national interest, or it is something related to a matter which is of importance or which is of interest to the whole country, something that affects the whole country, then in such cases, the governor may reserve such bills for the consideration of the president. Now, he can also promulgate ordinances. You know what ordinances are. We have discussed it in the previous sessions, also while we discussed the president also. So the, ordinances just like any other law, except that it is passed temporarily. It has only a temporary life. So he can promulgate ordinances when the state assembly is not in session. So the same power the president also has. When the Lok Sabha is not in session, the president can also promulgate ordinances. But these ordinances has to be approved by the state legislature within 6 weeks from the reassembly. So that is why I said the life is not permanent. So as long as it is in force, they have the same effect as that of a law. But once the house reassembles, within 6 weeks, this ordinance has to be passed in the assembly, otherwise it lapses. So the governor may also withdraw any ordinance at any time. So this is also his power. And finally, governor lays the reports of the State Finance Commission, the State Public Service Commission, and also the report of the Controller and Auditor General of the state before the state legislature. So these are all powers which are comparable to that of the president. So moving on to the financial powers, the governor sees that the state budget or the annual financial statement of the state is laid before the state assembly. So he basically causes to be laid before the house the state budget or the state or the annual financial statement of the state. Next is that, as I had just mentioned in the previous slide, money bills are introduced in the state legislature only with the prior recommendation of the governor. So all money bills are introduced in the state assembly only with the prior recommendation of the governor. Next is that no demand for grant can be made except on the recommendation of the governor. So all demands for grants has to be made on the recommendation of the governor. Moving on to the next financial power, governor can make advances out of the state contingency fund. We have already seen what a contingency fund is. Basically, contingency fund is meant to meet unforeseen expenditures or unforeseen emergencies. So whenever any advance is made out of the state contingency fund, that has to be done by the or done through the governor. Then he constitutes a finance commission every 5 years. So these are all comparable to that of the president. So the governor constitutes a finance commission every 5 years to review the financial position of the panchayats and the municipalities of the concerned states, because they in turn will decide the distribution of revenue between the state and the panchayats and the municipalities. So moving on to the judicial powers, the governor can grant pardon, reprieve, respite, remission, and he or she may also suspend, remit or commute the sentences of any person. So we have seen these terms separately already, but anyway, so these powers the governor has got, in such cases where the person has committed an offense against a law that relates to a matter on which the state has power. So if the offense is against offenses against the law over which the concerned state government has power, then in such cases the governor can exercise the power of pardoning, respite, remission, reprieve, suspend, commute, etc. But when the offense is against any law relating to a matter on which the union government has power, then the governor cannot grant pardon or remission or commute, etc. Then in such cases that has to be done by the president. The next judicial power is that he is consulted by the president when making appointment of the judges of the state high court. You know that the judges of the state high court are appointed by the president. So the appointment is made by the president, but in consultation with the governor. Then he also makes appointments, postings and promotions of the district judges. So district judges are appointed by the governor, but the state high court judges are appointed by the president. So district judges are appointed by the governor in consultation with the concerned state high court. And finally, he appoints persons to the judicial service of that particular state. So some states have a separate judicial service. So governor appoints persons to the judicial service of the state, and this is done in consultation with the state high court and the state public service commission. So these are the major judicial powers of the governor. So see you all in the next session. Thank you.